What's up, guys? Joe here, and I figured with everybody asking for me to make saltwater aquarium content, we'd start with doing something I've always wanted to do. I've never done this before, and obviously, I don't take responsibility for you copying me or doing, I don't take responsibility for you blowing up your tanks, all right? But I'm gonna show you just how easy it is to build your own acrylic sump. So, for those of you that don't know, a sump is a form of filtration that goes underneath your aquarium. It's basically another aquarium. And building one, for me, 4 feet across, 16 inches tall, and 16 inches wide, it's roughly like $1,000, sometimes even more. And for the one that I'm basically kind of sort of copying, it's about 1,700 bucks. Very expensive, very nice high-end equipment, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to build. How easy is it? Well, I'm literally doing it in my bedroom. No cap. So what I've done here is I went to my local plastics store and I bought one sheet of, which is 4 foot by 8 foot, of 3/8 clear acrylic, and I've already built this part. It's already welded together and what have you, but I'm going to show you with the brackets or the baffles in the middle how you would apply the same process to get to this point. It's very easy. You don't need to watch me build the whole thing. All right, so with the first baffle that I'm gonna show you guys how to cut, now you would follow these same principles of sanding and welding these pieces in place just like you would these. I just used a lot of these clamps. I think I bought 6 exactly. So that way, as I was putting everything together, you don't want too much pressure on it. You just want it to not move. Is the idea? So I clamped around and glued, what have you. So the first baffle that we're gonna design is for the auto top off. Now, I don't know how it appears to you guys, but it's left to right here. This is where my mechanical filtration will take place, the protein skimmer, then the refugium, and for this design I'd like to have an auto top off included into the sump so that I don't have to purchase a separate one or build a second one. So there will be a portion of this that is just for fresh water to be automatically topped off into the system as water precipitates out of the aquarium. So, all right, let's get started. I'd always recommend that if you can get the acrylic cut somewhere by a professional, you should do that for an amplitude of reasons. But if you're doing it at your house and you're like me, where all you got is a little Ryobi table saw, make sure you're using the right blade. I was cutting off some excess on one of the last pieces, so that's what that is. And here's the sanding block that I use. And I just go back and forth trying to keep as parallel as possible. But yeah, with your blade there, you don't want to use the big serrations like for wood, right? You want to use, this is a 200 teeth blade, and by having more teeth, it dramatically reduces the scarring that you have to sand off of the acrylic. So what I'm talking about is, let's see, these are a couple pieces I just cut, right? So this is how the professionals cut it, and it leaves this crosshatch pattern, sorta. See if I can focus on it for you there. You can't. What's happening? Yeah, you can see it's got cross-hatching going all the way down it, and what have you. And then you'll throw it on your saw at home and get a much deeper cut, right? There you go. You get a much deeper grooves going down it, and that's what you're sanding out for that real good connection. Okay, so fast forward like a lot because I accidentally set up the camera without it recording. So obviously the sump is flipped upside down right now. That's because I have the top gluing or welding down to the front, right? So I went with orange because I'm going to be doing like an Apex theme system. But all I've done is we repeated the process all the way around for each one of these baffles. 80 grit, 120 grit, 240 grit on every weldable side. And then put them in their locations, which will make more sense once it's flipped back over. We used our table saw to make some teeth for my refugium area, and then the water will flow
down, up. This is a little bubble trap for the return pump. Always had one. Not necessarily sure that they're required, but you know, it's what I know. This is the filter sock holder, which is again is upside down. There will be two big circles in there for that. So what I've done is I left a lot of room on this top cutout, right? And I've done that so that way we can route out the edge and get a nice clean finish, at least in theory. Never used a router. This might look like crap. So let's get to it. To touch up on the fact, you know, that there's no cutouts on the top yet. So theoretically what we have is a box, right? The reason I've done it that way is because I've seen a lot of really nice sumps with, you know, squared lids and what have you. And that's the goal. Again, never used a router. I've been practicing on a couple small pieces, so we'll see what we can come up with. All right, so we got everything routed out, and we're you know, leak testing right now. Now everybody says different amounts of times. You know, 24 hours, 72 hours. Use whatever your preference is, what you're capable of. Right now for me, it's Friday. On Monday, I'm taking this back inside. So the 72 hours plus some probably. I did notice, because what I did first was, since I have an auto top off reservoir, and this has to all continuously be fresh water, this has to have just as good a seal on it as literally the outside. This is basically in a separate system that's just attached. And I did notice when I was filling it up that right here at the seam we had a little bit, I mean trickling out of this corner. So I'm going to show you how we're going to fix that. It will be very similar to how I fixed this obvious gap up here. Now I know it's not the prettiest, but basically you just take a little bit of acrylic, I mean you're gonna have scrap like all over the place, literally. So but basically I'm just gonna take like a little piece, right? And if you want it to look perfect, you know, whatever, you could run it the length of the inside so that it looks smooth. For me, I'm going for functionality over prettiness. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and seal that up. Once this is all done, if everything else passes, then that's all I'll be fixing, because everything else through the baffles was smooth and steady, no issues. I did realize that maybe I should have done something different in this section. I'll probably have to put some form of like maybe wave maker, small, very small pump of some kind in here, just because there's like almost no flow throughout it, because of the simple fact that I made it like dead even across. If you were going to do it differently, if I could go back, maybe I would do it across the bottom, so that way water comes up and then over, you know, but I didn't. So small pump in there should be fine. So far so good, no leaks all the way around the edges. Like I said, 72 hours and we'll come back to it. Also, I took a little bit of a router, right, the 45-degree angle, or not 45, excuse me, the 1/4 inch round over bit, and I ran it down the side to give it this smooth finish. Now when we're all finished, let's see if we can find an example. You know, obviously if you look at this, it's a little matte compared to gloss originally, as well as the sides, right? So we're going to take a matte torch and we're just going to heat it up and it will go back to a gloss finish. It's called flame polishing your acrylic. So yeah, and then obviously at some point I'll go through and sand out the edges, make everything pretty, and then at a later date we're gonna make some lids, probably in this video. Why not? Screw it. So yeah, we're gonna make some lids. I'm gonna show you where the lines are gonna, obviously I don't have my holes drilled out for the overflows, nor do I have the dosing lines put in here. That will all come at a later part of this video. I guess for you it's going to be 2 seconds. For me it might be a couple days. So all right.
Okay guys, so now we're going to gloss out the edges. Now again, this is one of those do as I say, not as I do things. You should definitely not do this inside your house for a multiple like amplitude of reasons, like flammability, house fire, fumes, yeah. But again, do as I say, not as I do. Before I do the close-ups, it's also recommended that here I'm using propane with a little, you know, spark igniter. It's recommended to use MAP gas because MAP gas burns hotter. So they say that you can't do it with propane, but you can. But you just got to be more careful. So again, it's easier with MAP, but it's also more dangerous because it's too hot. So if you're nervous about going overboard, propane's the way to go. Now again, I'll give you a close-up. Again, you don't want to go overboard with it. You just want to give it a nice little cut. And be careful to keep moving. You don't want to stay in one area too long. You also don't want to go too fast. But yeah, oh, it isn't sticky. Good thing I got like 7 more of those things. But yeah, we're gonna repeat this process all the way around. And you know, another thing that I always take into consideration when I'm building is the future, you know, applications of it. And so in this case, we'll be talking about maybe like wire management. For those, a very simple solution. Run up to Home Depot, Lowe's, maybe even Walmart. There's these mini cable little deals, right? They're just stickers. You put them in there, and it's cable management. You can feed your wire through them. Or they have the long ones, which is what we've used for this particular one. As you can see, the long ones I've placed basically where I think I may end up needing them. Went a little overboard just for the simple fact that I don't know exactly what I'll be doing yet, and you want to make it available for you know, future purchases, future equipment. You might have more wires later than you do now, and these little things come in a pack of 2 for $10. So I can already take out, you know, 4 wires in there, 4 in here, 4 in here, and I'll never use 4 in my ATO, but you know, maybe if it's thick enough I can feed the 1/4 inch feed line or something through there. Also wanted to add, since it's really hard to get footage of this stuff, guys, while I'm doing it without, like, you know, professional setup or anything. So this is the lid that I've designed. So what we did was we took some scrap 3/8 clear acrylic that we had over here, right? I used a 4-inch hole saw to cut out a hole, and then I cut across and flame polished it before I put it on there. That's important. And then you know, bonded it down. And you know, it's not you get real up close and personal, you can see some bubbling, but really, I mean, the camera kind of picks up more than the eye can see. I mean, honestly, you know, you're only under there every now and then for an auto top off for 10 gallons. Maybe you're under there once a week, and all you gotta do is set that out of the way and move it over there. Now, the reason that I went with this lid handle versus what I did on the filter sock was one of 2 things. One, I was just curious if I could do it because I had seen it done before, and 2, with the auto top off, the only reason you want a lid and all that coverage is to help with evaporation, because that's your top off water. So if it's topping on or it's constantly evaporating, you're kind of wasting your time. Now, does it help a lot? I don't know, but just in case. And as we're coming to the end of the build, I thought that I would do one more thing. Basically, this is going to be my refugium, right? Well, you know, if you look over there at my current fuge, everything's clear, so I get algae over here and over there where it's not supposed to be. So what I've done is very simple, just cut out some orange so that way the light can't get through to grow algae where it's not supposed to be growing. And then additionally, I put this like window, I'm gonna call it, so that way when light is shining down, it goes down where it's supposed to. I may end up putting another one over here, but I won't do that until this is up and running and I can see where it's going, because I want to be able to get my hand in there. And as far as cleaning goes, when it does come time to clean these baffles, I think realistically what I'll do is maybe put like a sponge. It's about that big, like all the way across, so that way it's very easy to get out whatever comes over it. And if not, then I plan on using a small pump, and I'll put a nozzle on it and I'll blow it all out occasionally. But yeah, that's the build, guys. It probably won't be up and running for quite some time because the Army's gonna move me, but that's how you build a sump at your house, with a table saw and some time. So yep, hope everybody enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, concerns, and what have you. So alrighty.